What do you do when your own blood takes your legacy and builds a kingdom without you? Roman Reigns ruled WWE for years, undisputed, unmatched. But the one man he trusted most, Solo Sikoa, just won at Night of Champions, then formed a new faction. Without Roman. No call. No warning. Backstage, Roman didn't speak. Just stared at the monitor.
Cold. Betrayed.
You could see it, this wasn't just business. It was family breaking apart, again. And here's the twist, he didn't walk away. He smiled. Because the tribal chief doesn't get even. He gets everything back. Follow for what's coming next. Sure. Here's a full YouTube script/story around the theme. Roman Reigns' shocking reaction to Solo Sikoa's new faction after his win at Night of Champions, built with emotion, dramatic pacing, and narrative hooks. It's written in a style that blends commentary with cinematic storytelling, targeting 2,000 to 3,000 words. What do you do when your own blood takes your legacy and builds a kingdom without you? For over 3 years, Roman Reigns wasn't just the face of WWE. He was the foundation, the force, the final boss. He called himself the tribal chief, and not because it sounded cool. Because it was true. The head of the table. The undisputed, undeniable, and seemingly unshakable leader of the bloodline. But kingdoms don't last forever. And sometimes, the danger doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. Night of Champions. The name itself carries weight, legacy, and consequences. Every match matters. Every moment counts. But nobody was ready for what came after Solo Sikoa's win. It wasn't just a victory. It was a declaration.
It was never supposed to be like this.
Solo Sikoa, the enforcer, the silent storm, walked in as Roman's right hand. He didn't talk much. He didn't need to. He let his presence do the damage and his Samoan spike do the rest. For months, Solo did everything Roman asked. He was loyal when Jimmy and Jay crumbled. He stood tall when the Usos left cracks in the dynasty. He filled the void with no complaints. No ego. Just blood. Or so we thought. At Night of Champions, Solo stepped into the ring and did what he's done so many times before, dominate. But it wasn't just about winning. It was about how he won. Ruthless. Precise. No hesitation. No mercy. The message was clear. Solo wasn't playing a supporting role anymore. And after the match, when the lights dimmed and the crowd leaned in, the unexpected happened. Solo didn't raise his hand in Roman's honor. He didn't look to the sky. He didn't even look backstage. He turned, and out walked 2 men. They weren't just anyone. New faces, yet familiar bloodlines. Tattoos inked with heritage. Eyes full of war. And when Solo stood between them, arms crossed, expression unreadable, it hit everyone like a thunderclap. This was a new faction. No Roman. No Paul Heyman. No acknowledgement. Just Solo. Just legacy. Just betrayal. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't boo. They watched. Because something had shifted in the very fabric of WWE. The bloodline wasn't just fractured. It was splintering into something else. Something darker. Something colder. Backstage, cameras caught a glimpse, just a few seconds, but that's all it took. Roman Reigns standing in front of a monitor, alone. No Heyman. No wise man whispering in his ear. Just silence. And the image of his own flesh and blood taking everything they built together and flipping the table. No words. No rage. Not even a flinch. Just a stare. Eyes locked on the screen. Breathing slow. Controlled. But inside, there was a war. This wasn't just about championships anymore. This was about honor. About power. About betrayal in its purest form. Roman didn't look like a man who had lost something. He looked like a king who had just been challenged. And then he smiled. Not a grin. Not joy. It was the kind of smile that freezes your spine. Because it told a story words couldn't. The tribal chief doesn't panic. He doesn't run. He waits. He plans. He gets everything back. But how did we get here? To understand this moment, you have to rewind the clock. The bloodline wasn't built in a day. Roman Reigns didn't become the head of the table by accident. He fought his family to earn that title. He broke the Usos to keep it. He manipulated, strategized, and conquered. And through it all, one man stood quietly by his side, Solo Sikoa. When Jimmy and Jay started to question Roman's leadership, when cracks began to show, it was Solo who stepped up. He didn't just replace them. He made people forget there were ever cracks. He brought silence.
Control. Fear.
But Roman, for all his dominance, made one critical mistake. He underestimated what power does to a man. Solo wasn't content being the muscle.
He watched.
He learned. He saw the empire being built, brick by brick. And somewhere along the line, he realized, why be the protector of a kingdom when you can build your own? The timing wasn't random. Roman hasn't defended his title in weeks. Rumors have been swirling. Is he still in control? Is the tribal chief slipping? The cracks are no longer just in the family, they're in the perception. And Solo struck at the perfect time. Night of Champions was the trigger. But this rebellion? This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. The two new members flanking Solo? Whispers say they're distant cousins from the Samoan wrestling dynasty. Trained in silence. Built for war. Unknown to the WWE Universe, but known to the family. Hidden weapons now brought to light. And Roman? He knows exactly who they are. Which makes the betrayal worse. They didn't just walk out with Solo. They walked out on him. On the bloodline. On the legacy Roman spilled blood to protect. The question now is, what does Roman do next? Does he retaliate? Does he rally the remaining forces of the bloodline, if any are even left? Or does he let it burn?
Here's what we know.
Roman Reigns isn't the kind of man to beg for loyalty. He demands it. And when he's crossed, history tells us there's always a price. Remember what happened to Jay? Remember what happened to Sami Zayn? Roman doesn't forgive. He restructures. But this situation is different. Solo was the ace. The unshakable one. The one who never talked back, never stepped out of line. Roman trusted him. Gave him more than just protection. He gave him purpose. And now that purpose has shifted. Solo didn't just walk away. He started a war. You could feel it. The energy backstage after Night of Champions was heavy. People didn't talk above a whisper. Crew members avoided Roman's hallway. Even Paul Heyman, the man who usually controls the chaos, was nowhere to be seen. Because everyone knows, when Roman's silent, something dangerous is coming. That smile? That wasn't peace. That was the storm pulling back. There's something poetic about all this. The tribal chief who built his legacy on controlling his family is now watching his family turn into something he can't control. It's Shakespearean. It's primal. It's real. Roman Reigns isn't just fighting for gold anymore. He's fighting for identity, for control, for the very foundation of what the bloodline was meant to be. Solo Sikoa in one night didn't just make a statement, he made a promise. That the future doesn't belong to the old kings. It belongs to the ones who take it. And if Solo's smirk after the match meant anything, it's this. He's not afraid. Not of Roman. Not of history. Not of what comes next. But here's the thing about Roman Reigns. He's been betrayed before. By Seth. By Jay. By his own body during his battle with leukemia. He's come back stronger every